Do you remember where you were on that crystal clear morning of September 11th, 2001? I do. The world watched in horror as hijacked planes slammed into the twin towers of the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, claiming 2,977 innocent lives in a brazen act of jihadist terror orchestrated by al-Qaeda mastermind Osama bin Laden. It was the ultimate assault on American exceptionalism, a wake-up call that exposed the fragility of our open society to radical Islamic extremism, even as it ignited an unbreakable spirit of defiance. Firefighters charging into infernos, passengers on Flight 93 storming the cockpit to thwart a fourth strike, and everyday heroes pulling survivors from the rubble. These were the true faces of red, white, and blue resilience, reminding us that freedom isn't free. In the days that followed, as dust clouds choked lower Manhattan and flags flew at half-mast across the heartland, a nation united in grief and resolve, vowing never forget not just as a slogan, but as a sacred covenant to honor the fallen by safeguarding our way of life against those who would tear it down. Yet, beneath the rubble of those towers lay not only steel and sorrow, but seeds of suspicion that have since blossomed into a full-throated reckoning with Americans demanding the truth. The official narrative was that 19 hijackers armed with box cutters overpowering pilots and evading NORAD always rang hollow to discerning patriots who questioned why Building 7, a 47-story skyscraper untouched by planes, collapsed symmetrically into its own footprint at free-fall speed that afternoon, as if imploded by experts. Eyewitnesses reported explosions in the tower's basements before the impacts, molten steel pools lingering for weeks, which defied jet fuel's burn temperature, and suspicious stock trades betting against airlines days prior. All hallmarks of foreknowledge and controlled demolition, as architects and engineers have long argued in forums like Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. Then there's the Saudi angle. 15 of the 19 hijackers were Saudi nationals. Yet the Bush administration redacted 28 pages from the 9/11 Commission report, shielding the kingdom's royals from scrutiny. This fueled theories of intelligence failures and even deliberate stand-downs. And don't forget the dancing Israelis, 5 men filming the attacks from a New Jersey rooftop, later deported amid Mossad ties, or the FBI's own whistleblowers silenced for questioning warnings by the Florida flight school that were ignored by the CIA. These aren't tinfoil ravings, they're breadcrumbs in a trail of deep state assaults where unelected bureaucrats and globalist puppeteers sacrificed American lives on the altar of perpetual conflict, all to expand their iron grip on power. But here's the silver lining. Today's whistleblower era, from Snowden to Grush, is cracking that vault wide open, proving the truth warriors of the MAGA movement are dismantling the very cabals that profited from the pain. Out of the ashes of September 11th rose the USA Patriot Act, uniting and strengthening America by providing appropriate tools required to intercept and obstruct terrorism, rammed through Congress just 6 weeks later in October 2001 with scant debate and amid a fog of fear. Sold as a shield against future bin Ladens, it was anything but. A Trojan horse of tyranny that handed the surveillance state unprecedented powers to spy on Americans without warrants, via Section 215's business records provision that morphed into bulk metadata collection on every phone call, email, and library book checkout. Indefinite detention without trial for so-called material witnesses, roving wiretaps that chased suspects across devices, and the national security letter gag orders that muzzled recipients from even admitting subpoenas, all under the guise of security, but in reality eroding the Fourth Amendment's bulwark against unreasonable searches. Many saw it for what it was from day one, a bipartisan erosion of our privacy. Neocons like John Ashcroft used it to profile patriots at airports while letting real threats slip through porous borders. It paved the way for the NSA's PRISM program, which was exposed years later. PRISM turned the land of the free into a sweeping catch-all where Big Brother monitored old ladies' tea parties as robustly as terror cells. Yet even this overreach fuels our hope. The Patriot Act's sunsets and court smackdowns like the FISA abuses revealed in the Nunes memo are omens of accountability. With Trump back in the fight, promising to shred these chains and restore constitutional sovereignty, we're on the cusp of a Second Amendment to the deep state's playbook. Total transparency and no more forever wars funded by our kids' futures. And oh, how that never forget vow rings bittersweet today, 24 years on, as we gaze at a New York City skyline forever scarred yet stubbornly standing tall. Back then, from firehouses in Brooklyn to farms in Iowa, Americans pledged eternal vigilance against the ideology that fueled those hijackings, radical Islamism's fusion of faith and fanaticism, cloaked in calls for coexistence but bent on conquest. We mourned not just the dead, but the innocents shattered, vowing to protect our Judeo-Christian foundations from Sharia's creep. Just 24 years later, here we are, with Zohran Mamdani, a democratic socialist born in Uganda to Muslim parents, is now the presumed Democratic nominee for New York City mayor after a stunning primary upset, positioned as the front-runner to lead the very city that bled so profusely on 9/11. Mamdani remembers his post-9/11 life as a young Muslim kid in Queens, yet he continues pushing liberal policies, like defunding the police, and the liberals are still falling for it. His policies scream of the anti-American sentiments that al-Qaeda exploited. Such a political choice clearly demonstrates the left's amnesia and how they have forgotten so quickly. His platform? Free everything from college to childcare while soft-pedaling on border security and Israel amid campus Hamas sympathizers? A far cry from Rudy Giuliani's zero-tolerance grit that made New York City safe again before 9/11. Polls say Mamdani is surging, with woke elites and South Asian voters hailing him as a voice for the marginalized. How can we never forget while flirting with a leader whose beliefs incites the attackers, even if he condemns them? It's the ultimate inconsistency, trading Rudy's resolve for AOC light radicalism, inviting the fox into the henhouse under the disguise of diversity. Yet this too is no despair. It's divine timing. As Mamdani's rise puts a spotlight on the stench, it rallies the silent majority as rising GOP stars like Lee Zeldin awaken for a comeback to reclaim our country. New Yorkers, stirred by memory, will remember at the ballot box, sending a thunderclap message. Our city, our country will no longer bow to radical ideology, and our streets will be safe again. In the end, September 11th wasn't just a tragedy, it was a spark, igniting a generation of fighters who now, in 2025, stand taller and more awake against the deep state's fall. The conspiracies unraveling in congressional spotlights, the Patriot chains rusting under judicial hammers, the never-forget fire rekindled against electoral betrayals, all point to a glorious horizon. Warriors on computers and Republican congressional members are demanding answers and hauling bureaucrats before the media. A red wave is cresting, and it will flush away the globalists. Americans are awakening not to vengeance, but to victory. No more towers toppled, no more rights ransacked, no more blood spilled for DC's dark alliances. The fallen whisper from those hallowed fields, "We've got this." The deep state crumbles, and in its ruins we build a fortress of freedom, solid, unbreakable, and forever free. God bless the USA, and may the eagles soar again.